Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to start this off with the theme to King Kong. That is the theme to King Kong. Come on in. I am your host, Asaph Adonai, and this is Asaph Cafe, and on my left we have Mr. Christian Ackerman, who's going to be joining us and sitting in with us with King Kong. And through the magic of green screen technology, we are in New York. A wonderful place. Remember that Sinatra?
Yes.
New York?
Oh, it's a great song. New York,
New York. Yeah. I'm no singer, but anyway, King Kong is climbing up the Empire State Building, and he has Fay Ray somewhere nearby, and there's a plane going after him.
A lot of great screaming. Yeah.
Scream queen.
And there's a lot of on practical effects they did in the studio where they actually built a big hand and everything. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Oh, there it is.
I'll do the whole thing. You recognize it. I used to watch this cartoon when I was a kid.
That's right, yeah.
Here's the middle part. Recognize it? Exactly how that went. It was kind of a long intro.
It was, yes.
A lot of artists used to play that theme song in the 60s.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah, people like trumpeter Al Hurt, and before your time, you probably wouldn't know him. New Orleans trumpeter.
I learned from him everything, so he shows me videos, education.
Yeah, Al Hurt was like this famous New Orleans trumpeter, jazz man. He would play a lot of classical music and then turn around and play jazz, mostly jazz. And he did his version of King Kong, because that was a very popular cartoon in the mid-60s.
I forgot about that cartoon. When you said that, I was like, oh yeah, I remember. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, that was quite the cartoon.
Yeah.
And I used to watch that every day, in fact.
Oh, wow.
And that little boy's name was Bobby. You know, he was too young to know the dangers of the jungle.
Right.
He's sitting up in a tree. Big Kong comes looks him in the eye, and he's like, oh, innocent kid. And the girl is taken by him, so he picks up the little boy, puts him on his shoulder, and they become a team.
See, because all kids, why not have your own King Kong that just
that was
protects
the synopsis.
you?
Yeah, that was the synopsis of the cartoon, and then they just work together.
That's awesome.
Well, Kong did most of the work, like when he beat up Godzilla.
Yes, that's right.
He just takes him, snatches him, and body slams him in the cartoon. It was so funny, but
that's awesome. I know, I love stuff like that because you imagine like a little boy, girl even that would want have wait, here's my buddy, my big friend, King Kong. Oh yeah, protector.
That reminds me of this movie with what was his name? Matt. Well, I can't think of the name of. It was My Bodyguard. That was the name of the movie. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
This kid, he's like this scrawny kid like me, really scrawny little kid. And he comes from this kind of a rich family.
Okay.
He had no friends in school.
Okay.
And he befriends this kid that was a loner. He's like this big kid.
Perfect opposite. Right? Yeah, right.
Yeah, so he befriends a big guy because everybody's always picking on him.
Yeah.
So finally they become friends. He invites the big guy over his house and everything. And then all of a sudden, this scrawny kid was getting picked on in high school and stuff. All of a sudden, that big kid comes up. He's standing up like this, like King Kong. He's like standing there, just waiting for those kids to
just a presence.
The scrawny little guy. And the scrawny guy goes, "This is my my bodyguard.
And that's awesome. Isn't that great? Like that's like it's like a fantasy to have. Like you're like when you're in that moment of trouble or being invincible, like a superhero. But I got a question.
Let's see if I can answer it.
All right, so I'm getting into discussion now. Like I teach a media class. And I was showing them 1933, the trailer of King Kong, and we were talking about the stop motion animation, the practical effects, the movie. We briefly touched about the controversial thing because we weren't really touching base on the history, but we were talking.
Well, let's jump into controversy first.
Do you want it? I didn't want it.
That's fine. That's
we
fine.
did in the class. We didn't get there. We were talking about effects mainly.
Well, I think one of the controversies was probably the way Hollywood portrayed the African American people in the film.
Right, right.
And it's like that, Hollywood always did that, like you look at those John Wayne movies and stuff, and I have nothing against John Wayne, I'm just a fine actor.
Right.
But think about it. I don't want to sound racist, but I have to explain it.
Right, no, yeah.
You've got these lead characters, William Holden, John Wayne, these white guys, you know.
All white, yeah.
And the African American people or Asians, they were always servant roles.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it, but they were like always under the main character. You see it in a lot of the early John Wayne pictures, William Holden pictures and stuff.
Yes.
And even at Godzilla movie with Raymond Burr.
Yeah.
And I think Raymond Burr's a fine actor, Perry Mason, but they had this. It was so corny because you got all these officials in Japan, right?
Yes.
They can't figure out how to kill Godzilla, so some one white guy from the U.S. goes all the way to Tokyo.
See, it's all the power of film and propaganda.
So I don't mean to sound racist.
No,
I'm
not
just
at all.
saying that this is the way it was portrayed in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, in these early pictures. If you were a person of color, you were always
you do see that.
Native American, all of them, you're just all lower. And then of course the NAACP came out.
And there you go.
And the first thing they did was they went after Hollywood in those years, and they put a stop to that.
They did. But they're still having to work on things. And
well,
stuff.
I mean, they're not as intimidating now as they were when they first came out, that organization. But they've made a lot of changes in Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's crazy. I mean, how is it that Raymond Burr, one guy from the U.S. can go all halfway around the world?
Right, and go, I know the answer.
Yeah.
But then it goes back to that. I mean, not to get like too deep and crazy.
No, I know what you mean.
But it goes back to like, we know the answer, you don't.
Yeah, then they figure out how to kill.
Instead of going like sharing culture, going, hi, this is what we do. Oh, you do that. Oh, we want to adapt that to ours. Or that's great, but this is how we do it here. That kind of thing. Yeah.
But getting back to the controversy, I think it was the 1933 film might have been because of the portrayal of the African Americans. They were all like savage.
They even said something about King Kong a metaphor about King Kong too, bringing him over like in chains.
Yeah, okay.
I remember that was because Quentin Tarantino has brought that up in his own films too, because he touches that subject a lot.
Well, I think it's the same thing. Like we kind of mentioned it on the other cafe a while ago. It's always the U.S. It's always like these.
We have the answer.
It's like a whole bunch of team of white guys. They're like travelers. They always go to some native land and hijack somebody.
I know. Well, they
hijacked King Kong and brought into New York from Skull Island.
Yes, see that's
They went got Kente and brought. Yes, see, yes. That's what
that blew my mind when I like those kind of metaphors and those kind of things, or like
it's the same thing in Hollywood.
Yeah, I'm just like, wow. I remember as I grow up and I start to, you go, oh, you have your aha moment and think you see clearly now. Right. You're just like, whoa, and then you never see that picture the same again, ever, ever. But I get it now. Like, why people forgive that movie is probably because of the special effects, the old age, the music. Like you're playing the film music. It is an iconic picture, but then it is also our past, like follies and problems and woes.
Well,
hopefully history doesn't repeat itself.
I look at it like this. I know that Hollywood had its issues then.
Yeah.
But if you can look past that and look at the context of the film, it's still good work.
That's exactly what I was getting to.
And this was an excellent film. The synopsis.
I can't remember all the history facts about it because I just.
Well, let me give you the synopsis of this particular movie. This movie was made in 1933. Right. I think it came out the same time with Gone with the Wind. No, that was before Gone with the Wind. I believe. But anyway, with this film here, Fay Wray was the lead character. Right. Famous actress. She was known as the Scream Queen.
Yeah, because she was always
scream and never go hoarse. fact, I
Right.
talked about her on Scott's program, Wake Up Mozilla. I did a story on Fay Ray. But anyway, the synopsis of this movie here, the explorers, they're looking for people to go to Skull Island, and of course nobody wants to go because they're
Right.
scared.
Right.
Fay Ray's character is a homeless woman.
Uh-huh.
So they make her an offer to help her get off the street and everything. She agrees to go to Skull Island. So she goes on this expedition with them, and their purpose was to capture Kong from Skull Island and bring him to America.
Right.
And he was going to be the eighth wonder of the world.
Right.
That was kind of the general synopsis of it.
Make
and of
money.
course, yeah, and exploit it. So yeah, they go over there. They have to deal with the natives,
Right.
because the natives are always like half naked in these
Right,
movies. They
right.
can't speak English.
Right,
broken
exactly.
English, like
Yeah.
Tonto on the Lone
Yeah,
Ranger.
yeah.
That didn't sit well with the natives either.
Yeah, no, right.
The Tonto's always saving the day, right?
Yeah.
He can't speak. Come on in, Jeremy.
There's Jeremy. Here he comes, ladies and
Yeah,
gentlemen.
this is.
I'm going to talk a 1930s talk.
Yeah,
now.
we'll get back. We'll catch you up. And so anyway, they go to Skull Island. They bring him to New York, and they have him chained up
Hi.
like this.
I didn't say hi to Jeremy. I said hi, but I didn't say hi.
Yeah, they have him chained like
Just
this,
sitting
right?
on-
People just going to the theater, watching King Kong,
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
exploiting this giant creature. He gets ticked off. He's like, "Rah!"
Yeah.
He rips the chains off, and he's like screaming at everybody's in the theater, "Ah!" And they
Yeah.
run away. And
Yeah.
he gets out. He gets loose, and he wreaks havoc on New York.
Yes.
Scared everybody.
And it's the greatest scene. I mean, he's grabbing planes.
Yeah,
He has
and
the
then-
beautiful girl.
Yeah, he grabs the girl. Well, he fell in love with the girl on
Right.
Skull Island.
That's why I have something I'm going to... hopefully I'll remember to bring up. We talked about this in our class, but keep going. I won't interrupt.
Okay, well, no, the girl, Kong falls for the girl
Right.
when she was chained up at Skull Island.
Right.
She's like screaming, "Ah, ah," and
Yeah.
he's like, is all smitten.
Yeah, it's right.
So
Right.
when he gets loose in New York, he's holding the lady in his hand like this, and she's like screaming. She's just
Yeah.
screaming.
The Fay Ray scream.
Yeah, the Fay Ray scream. And he climbs up the Empire State Building, and you can see right there. And then, of course, the authorities said, we got to get this creature. We gotta
it's
get
a
it,
background.
and we got to save
Yeah.
her.
Because I was like,
So they send the planes, not just this
And
one
Kong.
plane. It was something like 5 or 6 planes.
Yeah, it's a full
flying
out
around.
action and everything.
Like World War II, and they're
Mhm.
shooting at Kong. He just gets more ticked off, and he's still holding the girl. And
Yeah.
So anyway, that was the kind of synopsis of it.
Yeah, and that's one thing we were one thing I asked again. I was just discussing like in our class we discussed
Sure.
things. And I was like, I just watched the new Beauty and the Beast.
The same synopsis.
And then I was
isn't it?
like,
yeah.
I go, so I showed the kids like the trailer, and I showed the trailer of Beauty and the Beast, and I showed the cartoon Beauty and the Beast, Disney's Beauty and the Beast. I didn't show any of the original whatever Beauty and the Beast, because
Uh-huh.
there's been tons of films. But I showed, there's even like moments in Beauty and the Beast that mirror what happens in King Kong. Like when he falls from like the
Well, he
beast
fell off
actually
the top
falls.
of this Empire.
Yeah,
State
and the
Building, he
beast
died.
falls from his home, the castle.
Yeah,
It's
Hollywood.
a lot of very
Hollywood
and
just-
dies.
Right, so
Yeah.
King
So,
Kong.
spoiler alert! Stop
Falls
watching! Stop watching!
But
there's
they
spoilers.
it's the
Falls
same
from his castle.
plotline.
Yeah,
his
His-
castle, his pride.
Is his
Yeah.
pride?
Uh-huh.
Whoa! Yes, philosophical and
Yeah.
true.
Wow.
Yes.
But and then we were talking about how Hollywood always portrayed people of color a different way in the early
Yeah,
years.
especially like the
Servant
metaphor
roles,
with King
submissive
Kong.
roles.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
not
the
as
shackles,
intelligent.
like you
yeah.
said, Roots. It was like right on the money.
Yeah, we talk about Roots. You
Yeah.
saw Roots, didn't you? The original.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the remake they did last
I've
year.
heard of it.
I never watched all the way through, but I know my favorite, the act, Reading Rainbow. What's his name?
Yeah, LeVar Burton.
Great,
Yeah,
good
he
actor,
played,
director now, and
Yeah, he
Star
played
Trek,
Kinte
He's a
as a very
director.
young man.
and producer.
This is way before Star Trek came out.
He was a Geordie LaForge with the eye thing.
But
on
before that,
Star
he
Trek.
played Kunta
Yeah.
Kinte. That's what made him famous, was that movie.
Yeah, and then Reading
He was
Rainbow.
Kunta Kinte?
Yeah, he was the original Kunta Kinte.
Good
He was
actor
very young,
though,
yeah.
very good actor.
And when you read these documentaries of that film, some of the white actors, they would go home crying at night
Mhm.
because that's not them for real.
Mm-mm.
It was hard for them to have to bring these characters like Chuck Connors, the
Mhm.
rifleman. He's always standing for right, everything.
Yeah.
And he played this really nasty slave owner that liked to have sex with the
Right, which happened a
New
lot. Yeah.
African American women and stuff. And he would go home and cry at
Oh
night
yeah.
after playing that. It was hard for those actors.
Yeah.
But see, the point I'm making is Hollywood always had people of color playing these servant roles.
Mhm.
All those Marx movies, any of them,
Yep.
and it finally stopped.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
When do you think when it stopped? I always, as a kid, I'm a media teacher, but I'm not really
Okay.
history, but we have to incorporate history, and I'm always like trying
Yeah.
to figure out.
Well, if I can answer it, go
Yeah,
ahead.
when do you think when it first started to change? Was it that movie,
It started to
Mr.?
No,
they
no,
call
no.
me Mr., but that was the 60s, right?
Yeah, well, that was around that time.
Things started changing. But then they even said maybe was it George Romero's zombie movie?
Well, I don't know. My guess would be around early '60s is when it.
Yeah, because a lot of that's right.
It was like a lot of resistance when
Mhm.
the change was starting to break through. And speaking of Sidney Poitier,
Yeah, great. Yeah.
he did a series of movies in the '60s that dealt with racial issues.
Yep.
Then, like Heat of the Night.
Yep.
That was probably one of his biggest films.
Yes. Like most
And
quoted.
he plays this Philadelphia police detective who's really skilled.
Yeah.
And he goes to visit his mom, who happens to live near Sparta, Mississippi, as they I don't know how they pronounce
Right.
that.
Right. He's going back over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And he gets pulled over by one of the white officers there. They don't realize
Very
he's this
racist
detective.
white up. Yeah.
They like, where are you from, boy?
Yeah.
And they-
Yeah. He's like, you don't know.
And he gets
yeah.
accused of murder, so they take him down to headquarters, and then they find out he's a police detective. A
Yeah.
very skilled one. And of course, they couldn't get past this.
They just mess with the wrong.
Yeah.
But it's funny,
So-
they can't get past the skin, but they're messing
Yeah.
with the wrong guy.
Right, so
Yeah.
Chief Gillespie, they put him to work.
Yeah.
And then he's trying to help them solve the murder, and they wouldn't even cooperate because they couldn't get past the color of this guy's
Exactly.
skin. And you know what made the change in that film?
Hmm.
The wife of the man that was murdered.
Yeah.
She went to the police headquarters. You guys need to listen to that officer. He's a better police
Yeah.
officer than you guys are, and you're sitting up there stuck on his color.
Yeah.
I want you to solve my husband's murder. She said that to the police chief.
Yes.
Then they start taking it serious. They start listening to Poitier's character, and then they find out who the real killer was. That it happened to be one of teenage white boys that was supposed to be outstanding kid in the community.
Right. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
And he was like racist, but nobody knew it.
No, yeah, he's like that. It's always that too. It's the person that has the look.
Yeah.
They look all like clean and whatnot. And
Yeah, and he was the murderer. you
Oh
know.
gosh, it's always like that's even creepier to me.
And not only that, when Mr. Tibbs was being interrogated,
They call
your
him
name? What's your
Mr.
name?
Tibbs.
it's Virgil Tibbs. That's a funny name for a nigga boy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, that's what they had to say.
Yeah.
What do they call you up there in Philadelphia? And he looks at that police chief and says, they call me Mr. Tibbs.
Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
That's a great. It's a bit mystery and drama. More drama, I would
Yeah.
say. But that's like that. They always show that moments in history of film.
Yeah, they
always
show that, yeah.
That's the one
and
that
I'm not
stands out.
endorsing the N-word, but I had to say it to
No, but
make it believable.
And that's why they
what,
say in the movie
yeah.
it's to
I
show.
know, to show
yeah,
that.
yeah, and that's we even talk about that in our class. Like we're under the school, we can't say certain things and do that. But we're always like I say we're like under like a PG guidance
Yeah,
thing,
I know.
but we are always like fighting like, well, Mr. Ackerman, I want to use a bad word or I want to use this to show that the truth to this. And I go, well,
Yeah.
too, at the end of the day, it is just a movie. And so you can have liberty to be
Well, that's
more
why I
creative
did it.
without.
That's why I did it just
Right.
now to make the demonstration.
But
And
it
when
makes it more real though. Like
When I portrayed that on Scott's show, I had to get permission from him to use that N-word
Yes,
to make
yeah.
that point.
Yeah, no, but that's so true. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
There's always a time to make that point.
Yeah, if
so.
you're like a teachable moment or something.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that was quite a film. And
Yeah.
what they put that man through, those people in Sparta.
Yeah.
Like when that chain gang, they went after him with these chains, like, we're gonna get you, boy. They were wheeling these chains, and he like pulls out his gun. You know?
You totally being up against a challenge, like
Yeah.
no fear. That's the hardest thing.
But Sidney Poitier, I think he was at the right place at the right time in his life when
Yeah.
he did all those movies like The Color Blue,
Mm-hmm.
and that was one of those interracial movies.
Yeah. Well, and he's like now an iconic person for everybody else, the voice of everybody else, and that's why I
Yeah.
think the importance of film.
But you had to be there
Yeah.
at the time when it was going on because he was
Yeah.
really making a statement, and I'm sure he ticked off a lot of
Oh
people
yeah,
in those years.
because you got Martin Luther King
Yeah.
Jr. Like that's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that's why but a birth of a lot of those films that did change viewpoints, perspective, I believe.
And of course the NAACP organization cracking down on, they didn't go after people, they went after Hollywood.
Yeah.
In those years.
Well, yeah, there was a lot,
those directors and those movie studios, they just laid into those organizations and
right.
made all that change there, and it took time.
Yeah, it's like burning out the bad, you know.
Drain the swamp like Donald Trump said.
Yeah, kicking it out.
Yeah, so they went after Hollywood.
Yeah.
And you know, I liked all those William Holden movies and John Wayne movies and so on, but it's the same thing.
No, yeah, if you look back, it's always the same
back
thing.
to the 1930s. That's probably why they had that controversy you were talking about in your class. This movie, they did it. Gone with the Wind. Clark Gable was what it came out in 1939.
Yeah, you're right.
And stuff, and even the Wizard of Oz, I think.
Wasn't she? And when you say with the actress who plays she was in. We were talking about that. Didn't she win her Oscar on that movie?
Yes, she did.
That was a big moment too.
And I think it was controversial, not because she won necessarily.
See, it was like always Hollywood. Like there was like everything would get in just a little bit, and then the '60s things started really changing. I think.
Yeah, it did.
Like '50s, it was still like some problems, but there was some things that were changing around, but you still had the white hero or whatever.
Yeah, and that's the way television was. And I'm writing something down here.
Because the 50s, you did have like now you had like friends, you know, and not like it wasn't just always help or like that. It started. That's where you started changing, but it was still you could tell there's a fight for that equality. You know, there is still too.
Well, I think it's come a long way.
It has, yeah.
I think that when in the I don't want to sound insensitive. The white world. I'm not talking about white people. I'm talking about the people in control.
Right.
I think they're more subtle about how they handle their dislike for change.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah.
You know, they may not say the N word like they did in the '60s, but you know, they pretend that they're all for it, and you can tell.
Yeah, you can tell.
You know
Like, I know exactly what you're telling. Yeah.
See, I've been doing this for almost 60 years, being African American. I
know.
I may not look my age necessarily, but my goodness, when I was a kid.
And I'm a Californian, and we're up here in Montana, and it's starting to change a little bit, but it's like I feel very comfortable because it was a cultural shock. See, and I look like an idiot saying that because I'm a whitey over here saying that.
Said that.
I know.
Comfortable.
No, but I'm just saying, like, it is, like, I remember, like, I always tell you a story, like, I don't know, maybe this guy might be watching, but I remember walking to Walmart, this was years ago, this is only, like, 17 years ago, and I'm out here, and I get somebody, it was my friend Link, who was here, and he's like, I'm like the only brother, he would say, he would joke, and everybody would laugh, and he would say, I'm the only brother, and I'd look around, and I'm like, I'm starting to believe you a little bit because there wasn't a mix here, and now it's changing. I'm starting to see it. Things are because of the university town and all that. But then I was in Walmart 17 years ago, and I'm walking around. And I have my Terminator shirt on. It says the governor, California, you know. And there's a big old black, like tall. You can tell he's an athlete. He's awesome, and he just like runs up to me, and I go, hey, and I thought like maybe thought he knew me or something. I'm like, hey, he goes, I love your shirt. You're not from here, are you? And I'm all, no, I'm from San Diego. So, I'm from San Diego too. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I met another. It was like another San Diego and another Californian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember talking about that. But it is. It's like, but that got me to think. This is getting me to think right now. Morgan Freeman said one time on YouTube. I saw this. He says. Like, he was asked, how do you stop racism? He goes, stop talking about it. Yeah. Stop making it a thing.
He may have
but that's a debate, though, because you do want to make it a thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to forget.
Right.
And I don't know. But I liked it. It made me think. It was like.
Well, to me, I don't care what.
Me either.
What race or background or creed.
To me, talking about it makes me uncomfortable. That's what it does. I don't like talking about it. You're
not born racist. It's ingrained.
It is.
And I'll tell you, here's a good example. You could take a little Chihuahua dog or any dog, a collie.
Or a kid, a little kid.
And you're going to walk up to any person and just lick them and stuff. You know, they're not going to, I'm not licking you, you're brown.
Yeah, exactly. No. Or kids, they'll just play together. Even now it's all about Muslim and stuff like that. And they do, there's a great videos on YouTube. I'm just going to say YouTube. I don't know. I'm referencing videos. I don't have like the the address for, but they show like two kids they just get them together and they don't care. They just want to play, and they don't understand why their parents are fighting.
They teach that into their children, and then it's hard to unprogram your mind.
It is
once that's ingrained in you.
Because it's so natural.
You know where I learned that color doesn't make any difference? Because when I was a little boy, we lived in Taipei, Taiwan.
Right.
And my parents used to go to those Monday night football games that used to have Chinese, Chinese football games.
Yeah, yeah.
They had this chant, "Boo hao for Linko, boo hao for Linko, boo hao for Linko, horse's house," is what they used to say. I guess they didn't like the other Chinese.
Yeah.
And so my parents would go to this football game. I was like second or third.
Right.
And then after the game, my dad would go in there in this room like those Richard Gere movies, and he'd be playing poker.
Oh, yeah.
And I was in there as a little boy.
Wow.
And they'd be like, just passing cards out.
Like
and
betting.
my dad was the only dark-skinned person in there, and nobody cared about that. All they saw, all they wanted was green.
Yeah, that's it. Wow, that's a great.
And I was in that environment every week, and it just like, hey, this is cool. Nobody's thinking color.
No, yeah.
And this was in Taiwan.
That's awesome.
Nobody, was thinking that stuff.
No, yeah.
They like, you're an American? And that was cool.
Yeah, right. Okay, USA or whatever.
But yeah, my father be playing poker and
Wow.
smoky field room, just like them old movies.
Wow, I'm picturing
That was
right
my
now.
childhood was like
That'd be a cool scene to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I lived that. Every week I'd be in
Wow.
those smoky rooms like that. This is way before the piano came along.
When did you come over back to United States?
Oh God, I think
your
fifth
dad,
grade.
your dad was military? Is
Yeah.
that, yeah, okay.
Yeah, he was stationed there, so we lived
Wow.
there in Asia for a long time.
So you more probably had a culture shock coming back over here,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, because when we
Wow.
came back, I think the civil rights era was like really in its heated moments. The change, like we we're talking about. People wanted to have change, and there's always that resistance.
Yeah.
Stuff like
Nobody
that,
likes
so-
change, even though they say, I like change, but...
They just use that excuse, well, I was raised this way. They use that when they're really just like maybe racist or whatever.
Yes, or
But I look at it like this. You know what 1 John says? This is cool. This is how you can shut any of that up.
Yeah.
How can you say you love God who you have never seen with your eye and hate your brother who you have seen? Isn't that cool?
That is very cool.
That is in 1 John.
I like that.
I just posted that.
You did?
Whoa! You're just like, I just posted that, and all of a sudden you glow and float up and go.
Yeah, halo, yeah.
I get shot by lightning.
No, but really, I think racism
That's
is
awesome.
the stupid. Where's that camera? It's the stupidest thing.
It's interesting because like the way the world is working is like everything's conversation.
Yeah.
Every
I
single
know.
thing.
But this country here, see, this is what bothers me about this country.
Yeah.
I'm proud to be an American.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be the greatest country in the world, and we
Right.
have the biggest hang up with racial issues in the United States.
We do, yeah.
And I know what I'm talking about living in other cultures and other countries. You can go to London, you're not going to have no problem like that.
Right.
You can go to Asia, the African continents. Everything's cool. You come over here and it's just...
Right. Yeah, I know.
And it bothers me
Yeah.
in this country here.
Yeah.
And you see it even in 2017 when you have interracial dating.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem with that, but
Yeah.
you can
Oh
tell.
yeah. That's why they still make movies about
It's
it.
starting with us, like all that, like right.
Mhm.
There's a moment in my life where I realized, and I think it was not too long ago, and I think it was today.
yeah.
But there's all these revelations. It's kind of like, wait a minute, like when we pay attention to the small things, we start to see that it's really making a really big change. Like being on this show, speaking about this right now.
Yeah,
it's
it doesn't bother me.
changing,
It's the
like,
truth.
just by
Right.
this right
Yeah.
here. Like
Yeah.
every interaction is changing everything.
It is,
Like
yeah.
I'm like,
Well, this
whoa.
show is more known for the comical stuff, but every once in a while I like to get into some nitty gritty.
You got the.
But it matters. Like that's,
Yeah.
You got Jeremy and Christian on the show. We get very philosophical. Sorry, I'm not
That-
saying
no, you're
philosophical,
not.
but we get
Bring it
very.
on, bring it on.
It'll go like.
No, you guys
Yeah.
want to talk
Me and
about
him-
that? Hey,
But you're the same way. Me and you get in the same
conversation.
I get in the same conversations like I
Yeah.
do with you with him too.
Yeah,
so.
I'm just giving you a platform.
So
Hey, this is
people,
a good
you're
time.
in for it right now.
Yeah,
we
we're
were supposed to be talking about King Kong, but
We'll
we
get
came
back
here.
we'll get back to
But
Kong.
he'll get us back on track.
Yeah, we'll get back to Kong, but
But we
see,
are on track though.
Yeah.
The thing with it's
Even
like
when we're off track.
Exactly.
We're on some track.
when they brought King Kong
Brought to you
back to
by-
the U.S., even though
Philly.
they pretend, Even though they didn't show it in the film,
Yeah.
there's that era, that
Yes.
Hollywood era, the USA era.
And the time when very racist time too.
Oh, yeah.
A big time, yeah.
And it's all about like
Segregation and
Go ahead.
I was on the bus on the way here to MCAT, and I was listening, and for me it's a lot of reading to educate yourself, to like think higher, think not of yourself, but just to see the distraction, or to see, like, to discern the conversation and look at it from the truth, and not looking at it from like, oh, like that, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
so it's like I was listening to this conversation about first the conversation was just like some normal conversation about what do you do for fun or something, and then it changed, and they got quiet, and I didn't even look at them, but I knew them on the bus, and I was reading, you know, and as I was listening, and they started another conversation, they started talking about religion, right? So then I'm like, oh, you know, you can kind of hear like, oh yeah, the conversation was now going about God, because you could talk about God forever, like why are we here, what's going on, so on and so forth. So as I'm listening to this conversation, it started to go into a direction where it was like very they didn't know what they were talking about. They didn't know where they were going. They didn't know.
They probably got
more like
those interpretations from what they perceived from their family, maybe,
and it was
friends.
Yeah, one of the most interesting parts about it was she says, I don't like jazz, right?
Now, I've heard people say that.
Now, this is the thing about religion, and this is the thing about conversation, that conversation is religion. Well, religion is a debate. And when we start arguing with each other, that's when it's religion. It doesn't matter if it's like, can you give me a fork, can you give me a spoon?
Belief, right?
Yes, it's an opinion, and it's not willing to compromise my opinion to see the greater, our opinions, to see the greater outcome of the situation, and to speak like adults and not yell at each other. So when we start yelling, that's when it becomes a religion. It doesn't matter if we're actually talking about God or not.
We're just talking about policy, basically.
We're talking about
another church's policy or belief,
this is blue. No, it's white. No, it's blue.
You're not supposed to have a tie on.
Yeah, just that's.
Well, I hope you might can use this episode at your school.
Thing like
so
that. We do this kind of.
It
discussion.
was very interesting to hear. I'm sorry.
No, keep going.
It was very interesting to hear, because she says, I don't like jazz, right?
Right.
And then he says, I don't like it either. But he's like, but I used to listen to, well, he says, like, you can hear it in his voice. He says, well, I don't like jazz either, right? And then he was just like, well, I like some jazz, but I don't like it anymore, because he compromised himself, so she can feel comfortable, right?
Right, I understand.
But really, she's being racist.
Well, let's talk about jazz for a second. You know where jazz comes from? We're talking Dizzy Gillespie, Miles Davis. This is going to sound racist, and I don't mean it this way. In the 1930s and 40s, they had what was called big band jazz, which was very structured music.
Yeah, very structured.
There was no improvisations. Everything was written down. So, like when you saw Harry James or Glenn Miller, and they were playing the rhythm stuff, it was written down on paper, or like Lawrence Welk, any of that. It was all scripted.
Still good though, but I see where you're going with it.
Yeah. And so
he loves Lawrence Welk, by the way.
Yeah, and by the time Charlie Parker, I don't think you know him.
I do.
Sax player.
Oh yes.
They invented what was I want to say a spin-off of big band jazz called bebop, which started emerging mostly in the black world around the 40s or so. And what it was is they would play the melody like a song that you would recognize. Then they would use the same chords in that song the second time, but instead of playing the melody, it would just make up whatever within the structure of those chords.
Right.
That was bebop. And Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie were like the pioneers of that kind of music.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a way of getting away from white, if you know what I'm saying.
No, I totally know what you're saying.
You know, and they were doing their thing, and it was all improvised and really skilled music.
Right.
but it wasn't memorized.
No, it wasn't
Whereas
structured like it
wasn't
has to
structured,
be
yeah.
like.
They would just
And
take
that was-
the chords.
And the conversation was
Yeah.
very structured because
Yeah.
they were talking very structural
Uh-huh.
things and not losing themselves in the moment and just
Right.
letting it seeing work.
Like how we talk right now.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but see, the history of that music, bebop's expanded, see.
Like,
This is,
isn't that would be
it's-
New Orleans jazz? Or
No, no,
something?
I'll
Or
get that
am
in
I
a
mixing
moment.
that? Because I have
No,
a
bebop
record.
was just more that lightning fast
Mm-hmm.
improvisational. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Or scat. You know,
Okay,
all
see, I'm
came from
learning.
that, yeah. And that was big. And then there were other forms of jazz that started to evolve. The Dixieland jazz that you're talking about.
Yeah.
That to me is noisy jazz, I call it.
Oh,
I love
it. I have one with
Because they'll get a trombone player playing while the clarinet is sticking out. Beep, 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 beep. You know, they're all like playing at the same time.
I like it when
And
it's
a
old sounding. Like the record I have there's a young Ray Charles on it that I have.
Uh-huh.
It's a New Orleans jazz record.
Yeah.
And it's awesome because you know he's young and he's
Yeah.
just a name on there. It's
Well,
like he's
people
not
don't
famous
know,
yet. It's pretty
Ray
sweet.
Charles and I sort of had the same teacher in a sense.
Oh right, you were telling me that.
Bumps Blackwell
You're
was
right.
training a young Ray Charles and Lou Rawls and all those people. By the time I got to him, he was old. I
Yeah.
was lucky enough to get in on the tail end of that.
You're right.
So that's how come I sort of know about these things because I had the same teacher.
See, you're teaching me though. That's what I love.
But even though I wasn't actually there in the 40s, I'm old enough to where I have a familiarity with it. By the
Mhm.
time I got old enough to see some of the changes that were starting to take place.
Right.
But bebop, yeah, they just went their own way. But the problem with bebop, the reason it fell out of favor is because you can't dance to it.
Oh.
Every song is lightning fast.
Right.
And so you just have to listen to it and you can't even retain it or remember what you hear.
Mhm.
Whereas with Glenn Miller and all the rest of those people, you can dance, you can slow dance with it, you can jitterbug, they called it, fast
Right,
dance, so
right.
there's differences. And the white audiences catered more to that, and the black audiences catered more to the
So we know what
bebop.
to do.
Yeah, and so
And then the 60s happened and it got all crazy. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, and Louis Armstrong, he was like the pioneer. He could like bridge
Oh,
the gap. Hello, Dolly. Yeah, he was considered a
What a
traitor by
beautiful
some of the
world.
African American people of the past, but he wasn't.
Oh, wow.
They learned, I think, a lot of both cultures respected him because he was like this ambassador. They could just like
Bring everybody.
bring everyone together with that
That's
trumpet of
amazing.
his. It's
Yeah.
really amazing.
And he did. I have some.
And it
old
was fun
stuff,
watching
yeah.
him too on TV.
It's interesting because it's like, you know, in the company of two or more, I am present, right?
Mhm.
So I think like what that means is like, who is present? Where is the conversation going is directed upon
Mhm.
what the topic of the conversation is. So if the conversation is like good,
Yeah.
right? So the topic is a good topic.
Right.
The present of that person, that being, we can say Jesus Christ,
Mhm.
is present. But if it's
Yeah.
bad, then it can be, that being is present too.
Yeah.
Because their topic was very negative. And my sense of racism is what I'm starting to discover is like, we can be racist towards, it's starting to move towards like, I don't like green, you know, I don't
Yeah,
like,
you're right.
you know,
Yeah.
this
So
or that.
right, yeah.
So now we're limiting our experiences in the world because when we can come at and come through with no intent, no agenda,
Yeah.
and no like personality, but come through with just love and like I don't know what I'm about to experience,
Yeah.
but just because that one jazz music wasn't good doesn't mean all jazz music I'm never going to enjoy.
Right.
And so we restrict, and I think like,
Mhm.
a lot of that is like, oh, this one black, Mexican, white, Asian
Exactly.
person ruined my
Right.
day. All black, all women, or all this is always,
Right.
you know, and we limit ourselves from more experiences. But God
Yeah.
is just, God is trying to crush that ego and humble us so we can.
Well, I think that
experience
when
Exactly.
people just
Yeah.
accept people as people,
Yeah.
you know, who they
Yeah.
are, and not have all this division
Yeah.
Right. Oh
of
yeah.
races
Yeah.
and cultures and creeds and
Yes.
all this. You know what I mean? Just
Well,
like Star Trek, you know.
That's what I was gonna bring up. Yeah, that's funny you just said that. You can tell we're all on the same page here.
Yeah,
It's like- it's
that's
like-
what why Star
gonna bring
Trek
up-
works. Is
yeah,
because
I was
everybody,
just gonna
like, you
say
look at
that.
the Bridge of the Enterprise,
weird.
the original one.
Yeah.
You got an
I'm talking
Asian
about the
fella.
original.
Yeah, you got an Asian fella running the helm.
Yes.
You got a Russian fella that's the navigator.
Yeah.
An African American woman who's the communications officer. And it
Communications officer, yeah.
And it works.
Yeah, and they're a team too.
Yeah, they're a team effort, yeah.
And that's why that show works.
It's the body of Christ.
Exactly.
Well, okay, yeah.
It's like he gave you a job to play the piano.
Yeah.
We're your guest, and then you know.
Yeah. But see, the thing is, instead of having all this division because of the differences, it should be, because you read Revelation, Revelation chapter 5, it talks about all these creeds and tongues and all around the throne of God.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna be sitting up there. You can't be here. You're a Baptist. You're a Methodist. Yikes!
Right.
It's gonna be all this
one thing.
You're gonna be like going like this with God,
Yeah.
No one's gonna be thinking.
We didn't know what we were thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We finally got it.
And
then we forget. No, we got it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just never know.
Yeah, you never know.
But no, I like Star Trek. I think when especially in this country, when everybody learns to unite more than divide because of all these subtle differences.
And it's a selection of like everything is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Like every moment right now, what comes out of my mouth is a choice.
Yeah,
so
but I'm not defending or endorsing bad choices. But if that's ingrained in you as a kid, it's hard to snap out. You don't just get the on switch. Oh, I'm going to stop. Well, maybe some,
Yeah, I mean, it takes like making more better choices.
Yeah.
Like how to start thinking, how to I've done this all the time, and am I willing to start
change your thinking? Yeah.
Change the small things, which starts changing the bigger things. Am I willing to step out of my comfort zone? And this little thing will allow me to step out in another thing, and another thing, and another thing, and another thing.
Right.
Next thing you know, you're like,
that's why I think music, film, talking, like you're saying right now, like the jazz of talking, actually, or kind of stuff. It makes you, you can have those aha moments.
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing I can describe it as, like, where you're like, maybe if you were raised as a kid in a very racist home, you grow up and you have that aha moment because you're like, you have that moment because you watch that film, you watch Star Trek, wait, that's working. I like that. I don't understand it. You have this conflicting moment, and then there's that moment of aha where you're like, that's the direction I need to go.
Or you're in jail.
It's a choice,
you're in jail, and you're, you're racist, and you're black or white or whomever you are, and the person that you hate is your jail cell member, and they're inflicted with the same thing, and then you guys learn, you guys are like in the same place, and you guys are forced to get along with each other, hopefully not kill each other, but and then you gotta realize, wow, like we have a chance to change this.
Exactly. Right when you're saying that, it's like the jail cell are they really in jail or is it really them? I just watched the new Star Wars, but I know you're doing Star Trek right now, so sorry, Star Trek fans. But Star Wars, they're in this jail cell, and the guy's he's relaxed. The one, he's blind, and he uses the Force, he's a Jedi or whatever. And then he's talking to this other guy, and this other guy is like very, we're trapped. I gotta do this job. I have to do this thing. And he goes, we've been in worse prisons like this, but I think you're the guy who carries your prison with you. Yeah. So right when you're saying that, I think once you have the aha moment, it's like, it's really not this jail cell. I got here because I carry this. Jail cell has, what's the word? It's like, what's the word I'm looking for? Metamorphosis? Not metamorphosis. That's changed. We're talking about the wolf man.
So if it's like, for example, if this piano is who you are, right? And I say, I don't like jazz, but let's just put it in a box. Let's put it in a box and say, I don't like when you press that key, right? Okay. So now you're trying to be yourself, and you're trying to play you're trying to play your best music, but you got to press that key, or else it just ruins you. And then I say, I don't like that you press the other key or this key, and now whether you believe me, right? Whether I start to slowly not accept you, you can't play anything because now you can't press any keys anymore. You can't be yourself anymore. So now you're in a box. And then if you're going, your belief system, if you believe what I say, you're going to be in this box. If you don't believe it anymore, you're going to be like, well, I'm going to go to someone who can appreciate me pressing all the keys. So
yes. Beautifully put, Jeremy. Very
our last 10 minutes, this went by real fast. Let's revolve around.
See, he's doing the thing he's bringing. But we've been on track. We're on track.
Yeah, we're getting back on
King
track.
Kong.
Yeah, because we got down our last 10 minutes. But
Okay.
I don't know if you caught that Star Trek I played.
Yeah, I
And
did.
the Dance
When
of
I
the
was talking
Sugar
about
Plum
Star
Fairy.
Wars, I apologize.
That's all right. I played Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy. I don't know if you caught that.
No, I didn't know. That's awesome. No, I did. Oh, yes, I did catch that while we were talking. Yeah,
That cool song.
it is a great song.
Are you gonna score for one of our films?
Huh?
He could do that.
Could.
Yeah, I know. I
We'll just
haven't
make
done
him.
it, but I know
Just
how
make
to.
him. Don't ever accept no for an answer.
No, I know how to do that. I just
Yeah,
haven't.
you're
You look
trained.
at it and
You
you
can
just-
classically play
I
it
can
or
play in the
whatever.
background if that's what you're looking for.
You're looking at the film and you're just playing along with to see what.
Jazz.
That's one way to do it. Another way is if it's more planned as far as what song you want for a scene.
Yeah.
Because like the old, well, I lost my train of thought. But you can do it that way, either planned or improv,
it.
like we're talking about. You know,
Yeah,
improv, whatever.
Mickey Mouse, but plan it so it like looks like it's going with the action or the moment.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've sat with like somebody who's composed for my films, and it was
Uh-huh.
cool. Like sometimes he would do that. His style would be, look, he'd go for this particular piece just to help me out. He would go. Tim Colbert was his, I don't know if he goes, or Tim Jaco. I'm sorry, Tim, if I'm saying sorry, but Tim Colbert is his birth given name. And he's very amazing, and so he would like watch my films, and he'd go, well, sometimes I have to plan it for this particular piece, but he'd make it work, like timing wise and rhythmic.
Yeah, some things you might have to plan it.
Yeah,
depending on
and
the
then some things
scene
he'd
or
like
the
this, I
screen.
just have to play this scene, and he would just
Right.
like piano it, and then he would take that piece and add things later.
Yeah,
on his own
that's
side.
it. Yeah.
And that was very interesting. Yeah, way to work. But if he just kept on like, I'm just going to do it this way, I don't think he would be able to like what we've been talking about.
Yeah, I was
Right.
like, I try to do that with making music. I'm just like, I got this, and then the drums, and this has got to come at the same time, and then I
Yeah,
would
that's
just
part
get
of,
so
that's part of the plan
frustrated.
part of it. You
Yeah.
know, sometimes they have these little orchestral scores that they do.
Right.
You know, like when you see Leonard Bernstein or somebody in a studio and they have the music out like that, so they know what to do for a scene.
My
So it depends.
best work has been improvised.
Well, yeah, like this show. So
Yeah, totally like this. But that's like me too. I'm the same way though. I like ad-libbing it. I like to know. That's what I know. I know the rules, so I can break the rules.
Yeah.
Like I know it's this way. That's cool. So if somebody doesn't understand, like I'm going, like especially when I teach my classes,
Right.
or we're talking about King Kong,
Mhm.
like when I come to my students with that Beauty and the Beast like
Yeah.
essay or whatever,
Mhm.
they're like, whoa, I thought we were talking about King Kong, and then all of a sudden some of the kids who are kind of like me and thinking, you know, that creative mind or whatever it
It's
is.
that generational thing.
They
you
go
gotta
like,
remember.
wow, they have this moment like, that's
Mhm.
amazing, and then they'll throw in their two tidbits, and I'm like, whoa, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
And then we're talking about stuff, and then all of a sudden we could be like, what happened to the show? We're talking about King Kong, but it just inspired maybe another movie or music video or something,
Mhm.
Yeah.
because we let it happen.
Yeah.
And some
Well,
people are scared of that.
It's like we're saying, if they just stop talking about it,
Yeah.
eventually it'll end. But until then, just have to deal with it, you know?
Yeah, right.
And there's like life has all infinite of these experiences
Mhm.
that are loving and awesome and amazing.
Yeah.
But we don't allow ourselves to just go like, cause I was watching all these like tabloids and all these like YouTube videos and saying like this movie, like these review artists they would review all these movies or they would like
Tell you
say
how
this
you
actor
think.
sucks or something like that,
Yeah.
and I would
Yeah.
believe it. But then one day when I turned it off and just focused on the Bible and just like
Yeah.
literally, I don't think you even need to focus on the Bible, but
Right.
I know what you mean, yeah.
but everyone
Focus.
should. Everyone
Focus.
should.
Yeah.
But so I just turned it off, and then we went, and she said she liked the actor, right? And like Nikki, and she just
Right.
let's watch it. So I was like, all right, watch it, right? I watched it. I fell in love with that actor. I was like, what?
Mhm.
Exactly.
People are
Yeah.
awesome. Like, and I just
Right.
stopped paying attention to all the negativity, and I
Right.
was just like, man, there's so much I'm missing
Yeah.
because of all these opinions.
Which you-
Negative
Negative.
opinions, especially negative ones. Like, I think that's a lot today. So, see, we're jazzing right now.
Yeah.
That's improvising, yeah. And, we circle back around
we gotta get back
songs,
into
yeah.
that little number. We're using all the same chords to get back to that number. Like
Yeah,
you
that
just
number,
described.
yeah, right,
But yeah,
right.
like what you're just saying there is like this, like that's perfect because that's what I find with same with me when I'm like I like say I don't want to hear any of the critics what they think.
Right.
Sometimes that movie might bomb. Then I watch that same movie that bombed at the box office, and I'm like,
Mhm.
I love this movie, and then you start to see
Right.
that movie find its audience later too, because they're like they have a chance to see
evolves.
it. Yeah.
And on that note, you have any final words, Christian? Because we're out of time.
My final words are: listen and don't be afraid to jazz it up every once in a while.
I like that.
Jazz it.
Jeremy, any last words you want to say?
I'll say it from the beginning to the end. Love Jesus Christ.
There you
He can
go.
save your life. He's the only reason why we exist.
I'm going to do something different. My final words.
Somebody just out there's like.
My final words, here's what I'm going to do.
Yeah,
Lord,
that's a break
thank you
point.
for this show. Amen.
Amen.
On camera. And so this is Asaph Cafe. We have Christian Ackerman here on my left and Jeremy further.
Which one is
left.
that one right there?
It's that one right there. It's Hal. It looks like Hal to us.
And we are on the set of King Kong,
Ah.
1933. Who's got Fay Ray? Anybody got Fay Ray on their hand?
I do, right? Where is she? I don't see her. Ah! No, I could do. There's my impersonation.
Yeah.
I've got the pilot.
Right.
There you go. I'm going
There
to
you
give
go.
Kong a high five.
There you go. High five.
Thank you, Conrad.
And giving him a high five on that note until our next show, Maranatha. And I always freeze on that core. You guys make yourself at home. I'll share everything down and be looking forward to making a copy of this.
Oh, yeah. That was
This
good.
is too good.
That was awesome. Very good.
Yeah.